What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Discard lovers, rejoice. We've got a good one coming today in Scorn. Alex and I are going to break down this card, the kind of lackluster Spotlight week, but the potential for Dependable discard APOC and friends to go massively on the rise within the competitive scene. We're going to break down if you should get this card, all of our thoughts, synergy, and everything that you guys are accustomed to on the Snapchat. Also, we're going to be talking about the OTA Zombie return. We have a couple of nerfs to Clog, Hella, and friends. We're going to break down what we think about the latest OTA. And with Zabu's change comes the rise of forecast cards. Alex and I have our top 10 best forecast cards to be playing with Zabu and in general for difference makers in Marvel Snap. We're going to talk about that all today, more on this episode of the Snapchat. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only Mr. Alex Kocha. Hello, buddy. We are mid-October, another glorious week in Marvel Snap. And it's discard week. Those that love discard, those that have been waiting to play something upgraded, something a little bit different, you know, discard pretty vanilla in terms of what you play. Well, we've got a good week for you, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, buddy. I mean, it's been a lot of cooking, a lot of brewing this past week. I mean, we got a really interesting card in Misery, which we'll be talking about later. Interesting, I didn't say good. We also got a lot of like fun stuff going on in the game. We have some events happening. Just a lot of excitement in Marvel Snap. And anytime you get to like, you get an OTA, then the meta shifts a little bit, and some of the more kind of like constrictive archetypes kind of get toned down a little bit. That we'll talk about later as well. It feels like it opens up brewing again, and that's when I enjoy playing the game most. When I get to cook and try to experiment with new cards, new decks, and especially some underappreciated stuff that maybe we can make work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the next couple of weeks because we had the OTA. We're going to have the actual patch, which should bring Marvel Rivals collaboration news, which is going to be exciting to see how they do that, what they do there, and then the chance for them to rework cards entirely, as we know happens in the monthly patch. And then we have another OTA to finish off, October, combined with some interesting cards. Again, this week's discard, we've got a bounce week coming out. The anti-venom looks kind of insane, so going to be a good time. It was fun. I mean, last week we talked about the good, the bad, the ugly of Marvel Snap Year 2. Had a couple of devs reach out and give their thoughts. They said they appreciated the candidness of the conversation, and it was good. They, we had the devs say something on that, and then all you guys had something to say just about on every single one of our Activate suggestions, which was both expected but also hilarious. But yeah, man, OTA. We have Scorn to break down here in just a moment. What do we talk about on your side?
On my side of the Snapchat Cozy, we'll be discussing Misery, and we'll be a little bit miserable talking about that. We'll also be talking about the best and worst Cube Thieves in Marvel Snap. And then finally, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
All right, guys. Well, let's get right to it. We have Scorn, the new card this week. If you guys don't know what the card does, it's a 1-cost, 2-power card, and this just might be one of the most crazy 1-costs out there. When you discard this, you'll return it to your hand, and you're going to give it +2 power. And then you're going to give one of your cards in play as well, +2 power. So we're looking at, after just one discard, technically a 1/6, which is absolutely crazy. Obviously, that scales up to, even crazier numbers as we continue to move up the chain there, 1/8 and so on. The Spotlight week, little bit underwhelming. Definitely underwhelming. What Jean Grey, I mean, we've had her a million times. Also, just not a card that's played all that much. So it's all about discard lovers this week. It's pretty cut and dry and obvious.
Yeah, I mean, Jean Grey, Sebastian Shaw in the Spotlight Cache, that's pretty rough. I do like Sebastian Shaw as a Silver Surfer stan, but yeah, this is a terrible week. I can't believe Jean Grey's back in it. Not only is it like a card that no one plays, but it's been in so many times, and like, we already have so many absolutely fire variants. We have multiple Archer variants of Jean Grey already. I don't know what is happening there. That should have been something else for sure. But with regards to Scorn, okay, I had this funny moment where I was like looking at Scorn and trying to evaluate how much power that it was able to put out. And I came to the thought of like, is this power creep on Silver Sable? Like, it's just, the stats on this are so stupid. Like, it's actually cracked. I think this has to be the upper echelon of what a 1-costed card could be potentially capable of in Marvel. So I can't see you doing more than this.
I like when they do this with cards. Like, like if you look at a card like Morbius, for example, we don't talk about him enough, but his stats are obviously well above 2-count. We go crazy for Scream and then not so much Morbius. But if you're noticing a pattern, Scream, Scorn, these ones that go well over what we're expected are very narrow in design and play, right? Like, so Scorn, Morbius, these are discard. This is a discard card, guys. We're going to have one option that's maybe a little fun, but the main thing we're looking at here is Apocalypse discard. And so it's funny you say that. I feel like it was hard to rank her because obviously if you play discard as a discard card, it's a 5 out of 5. As just an overall card, because of the flexibility being so limited, it is tough. I want to say it's a must get card if you play discard. So like, say what you will on the star rating, but that's the analysis.
Yeah, essentially, like in terms of stars, I cannot see this being anything less than a solid, excellent 4 in discard. And if discard gets some some action happening, all of a sudden becomes meta again, this could very well easily be a 5-star card in that archetype. Like, it is that much power centric. And now there's a couple things that start to make more sense too, right? Like if you think about the change to Dracula, right? They made a change to Dracula where all of a sudden, oh, its power it's additive, so it's added to the state of Dracula. You're like, I don't know if that actually makes a difference. Well, now it does. That Scorn exists, right?
Yeah.
Because now Dracula can kind of absorb those hits from Scorn and still apply that power onto the field of play. So like, I don't know, man. This card does seem cracked for the archetype.
It is, yeah. It's great card. Is discard good right now? Looking at just base stats and the most, the best performing one. From all ranks, we're looking at about a 58% win rate. Not bad at all, obviously, for the collector discard, the most popular at the moment. You have a lot of tools going for you. An archetype that has always suffered from not having any type of tech options within it, so it has to provide kind of unexpected and quick power to make up for all that. And it does that pretty damn well. Infinite plus, you're looking at 53, 55%. And so will this take it over the top? Those numbers are good to me anyway. And I think, things like Moon Knight and Swordmaster's change definitely really amplified that archetype. But I think this could be something that really shoots it up. We'll go to the stupid stuff first, then the obvious. The stupid stuff is you see Sebastian Shaw in here. And so I think they're hinting at, hey, try out this fun deck that you could run where you've got like a Sebastian Shaw out there with, who gets what, +4 every time he gets hit as a card. It's a 3 cost. This is a 1, so kind of a weird situation. But yeah, maybe you could do some power shenanigans, but mostly, obviously, it's going to be dedicated discard stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's okay. I don't want to sound like a total memer, right? But I was like pen and papering this deck where I'm like, okay, I can do a Silver Surfer deck. Right, with Scorn in it, Sebastian Shaw. You can have the I know, listen, hear me out. You have Moon Knight, but you also run Proxima, right? So the Moon Knight can send the Proxima down for free, right? Instead of running something like a Makari, right? Your Swordmaster does target Scorn. It'll also target your other stuff too, I guess. But I'm working on that problem there. Okay, you do have Strong Guy. Right? Like it's not a total joke, right? Like you got Gambit, Dawkin, you got all these targets at the 3 cost. Like if you think about how like you could potentially do some disruption with like a Moon Knight, send over the Proxima to a location, discard Scorn a bunch of times, buff cards up. The only card that doesn't work is like your traditional Brood line, because Brood will have to be in play to get buffed by Scorn, and that's not quite what you want.
I'm smiling because I had up here as one of my things is a Surfer discard deck. We've tried Destroy discard. You would look at the 3 costs and think it makes sense. In those decks, you have to just let go of Brood. You have to kind of go all in for, what it does well. And listen, the deck could do some interesting things. I mean, those kind of decks are always unexpected in play, so I think you got that going for you. How reliable it is, we'll have to find out. Now, let's start with, you mentioned it, and funny enough, this damn card's always so hard to find. Dawkin, because like if you search by discard, he's like, I'm pretty sure he's not in there. He's just like weird. But Dawkin's definitely going to be one of the biggest winners. I don't know if he's going to be like earning his spot in an Apocalypse discard deck, because listen, now, we've got Wolverine, Proxima, Scorn, Apoc, Swarm, all who don't care if the discard stuff happens. And so for me, going, guns a-blazing discard is probably the way to go. But getting that power gain for him is going to help out a ton. Just kind of hold down a lane. You get an extra piece to get rid of. This does make sense in MODOK play, and so I'll be interested the most in keeping my eyes on if Dawkin ends up being pretty good through this.
It's one of those situations where like you have this archetype that's so steadfast in its ways, right? Like even Collector has traditionally been getting cut from some Apocalypse decks. It's only been recently that's been kind of reinstituted back into those Apoc decks, right? Like you have these very, very, very tight decks that it's similar to Destroy, where like you have to really punch above your weight class in order to get added. And so like does Scorn and what that deck brings, does it bring Dawkin into the mix? Because like you cut something like a Moon Knight to add Dawkin, right? Because Moon Knight is currently in all the decks, right? So then it's like, would you rather have Dawkin or the Moon Knight?
It's tough. I think Moon Knight is the tech card-ish that you need to do some offense stuff going on. Like, to me, if you guys haven't played APOC discard in a while, let me tell you, it's different than your grandmother's discard from back in the day. There's a lot that has changed here because we have the Swordmaster with a target. Heck, I mean, if you're going as far back as Blade with a target. But what I think Scorn is doing here is filling what happened to America Chavez, God rest her soul, and giving us that dependable, large power card that Dracula, who's going to just be bloodthirsty for what's going on here, can finally capitalize on. And I don't know about you, man, but I found it so awkward all the time. When you had Swarm and the MODOK, it's like, okay, well, if you played MODOK, you know, great, you could get the Morbius up, but then you have this Dracula that could miss the APOC, and it was kind of awkward where Scorn feels like that card that it just doesn't matter because she's going to be so solid in hand or in play, obviously. And what's great about this, Alex, is that I don't know if it'll replace Swarm, but I do know it's going to give you a lot more consistency towards the later game plays.
Yeah, of course, because like if you think about like the way Swarm is played, it's actually still a good card, right? Like Swarm is a 2/3 into a 0/3, a 2/0/3s, I should say. That's great. Like that actually is a lot of added power, and it can catch people. I shouldn't be catching anyone by surprise, but it does. It's like, oh wait, that's like 12 power worth of swarms or 9 powers worth of swarms on turn 6. I wasn't expecting it, and they slammed the APOC or they triggered APOC with the Dracula, but space becomes a factor. And one of the key winners that goes alongside Swarm is going to be something like a Colleen Wing. But the question becomes, if you're playing something like Colleen Wing, would you... I don't think you ever play Swarm if you're playing Scorn. I think it's Scorn or Swarm. I don't think you're running both in your decks. Because if you're going to go in on the Scorn strategy, I think you're going to want to go all in. You know what I mean?
Scorn Swarm, that's going to be... Yeah, it's a Dr. Seuss book. It sounds like over here. But no, I agree. It's... yes and no. It depends if you go more collector focused. I think there will be decks that you can kind of go with both. But yes, I agree. For me personally, I'm going to be going, and Swarm will be exiting the deck because I think about the cards that I have to have in there, right? And then you're correct. It starts getting pretty slim. For me, obviously, Blade's in there no matter what. You have Morbius in there, no question. These are the two just staples. Collector's going to make his way in. I think Colleen Wing makes the cut just to help Scorn a lot. Swordmaster in there too. You've got the odd number cards, so now we have some synergy there. To me, though, Gambit and Moon Knight feel really solid in this build because you're having two cards that act as these tech attack options that almost everything in your deck is A-okay with this happening to them. And that's what I think the deck's going to do well. Proxima Midnight, get rid of her. Who cares? APOC is going to go to crazy stuff. Really, the only thing you have to kind of look out for is Gambit with Dracula. You want to make sure you land that, but I mean, dude, this thing has a lot of firepower, and I'm going to be interested in, do you go with these tech attack options or the extremely safe option where there could be no errors, but you got a lot of dependable power?
Now, I'm not like finalized on my deck yet, but my current deck, I cut something like a Moon Knight, and I'm not running Gambit.
Yeah.
And instead, I'm actually running Meek. And
Wow.
let me make an
Okay.
argument for Meek for a sec, okay? I think that Scorn is obviously a card that you don't want on the field to play on turn 1. But you're often, unless you get Blade and Scorn's right in the right spot or APOC's in the right spot, you often don't use Blade on turn 1 either, unless the things align right. However, you're going to want something on the field to play for turn 1, because if you play Meek on turn 1, and then on turn 2 you Colleen Wing the Scorn, Meek gets the buff. Something has to be on the field. Like, you're wasting Scorn's capabilities if you don't have something there. And so I do think that Meek is a low-key winner because it can be there absorbing that bonus 2 power. And also, when it gets the +2, it gets the chance to move. And it gets +1. It's double dipping.
It is certainly, hey, 100%. This is what is cool. We know that it's going to be, once the design is figured out, it's going to stay there. But in the testing phases, like, what is going to be worth it? Because, yeah, you're correct. In the world that you get Meek turn 1, you could play him, and then you can discard Scorn on turn 2 with the Calling Wing or whatever. Dude, you're getting like a Nightcrawler and some doing insane work here. So I do agree there. The list, as we've said, so tight. So we're going to have to see what does make that final cut. And I'll tell you a card just like Meek that's right on the bubble. Good point here about getting the power. So Meek, yeah, mini Nightcrawler. For me, does Corvus make the list? And let me tell you why. This is another thing of like, okay, you don't go the Gambit route. You go Corvus. Eyes closed, discard everything. Who cares? All is well because everything's okay to hit. The reason I say this is in a perfect world, the amount of power this deck's going to be able to pump out with Morbius on the board. You've got Apocalypse just going nutso, Dracula absorbing the APOC, but now you can play, potentially have that extra power on turn 6 to be able to get Scorn and APOC out, or Scorn in a card. There's a lot of options you can go with here, and that excites me.
I think that also with the change to Hell Cow, Corvus Glaive is going to be the only card that discards 2.
Exactly.
And I think that's kind of important to consider. I had this thought as well, and I was thinking to myself, like, is Scorn always just going to be better in hand? Like if you have Dracula, is it better to play the APOC, discard Scorn, or is it better to play Scorn, play something else, discard the APOC? Like, and because remember, it's still net 4 power, but it's distributed differently, right? Because well, no, not necessarily, because I think if you discard with Dracula's going to take the power of Scorn, but will it take it after the +2? Like, that's something we need to see, right? Because that changes the math on it. Do you follow what I'm saying, right? Because Dracula hits it, it sends the +2 on the board, it gains +2, but what does Dracula get?
Yeah, so this one, see how he reads? APOC reads where, like, he gets the +4 power when you discard it. This one, it looks like it needs a return to the hand first. So I feel like it's going to get the last known state of Scorn, which is not going to be bad. Like, for a 1-cost card, this thing's numbers, it could go up to 14. I mean, it's insane. And what's even more crazy about this is there's no cap. You read this thing, you can discard this as many times as you want to, right? Depending on the shenanigans you can have done, which, we'll get to some of the more fun decks here in a moment. But this thing can keep scaling and keep scaling. And I love that because there's games where APOC is huge, and guess what you can do? You can swap it up. You can play APOC on another lane and have, the Dracula get the Scorn and kind of keep them on their toes a little bit. I think that this is what we've needed, this way to have great power. What do we usually hate in 1-cost, or what are the cons? Well, if you get it late. Honestly, this is a card that in its design deck, who cares if you get it too late? It's going to do its purpose for most of the match here. And so, it excites me. I know people think that MODOK's pretty linear, but I think I'm excited for getting MODOK back into things and finding the kind of the perfect build for the card.
Getting the perfect build for the cards, I think, going to be harder than expected. I think that everyone's going to start with very similar shells, and the difference between like a couple of the cards is going to be notable.
So, guys, we had to stop talking because Alex's computer decided just to completely shit its pants. Like, I don't what's happening, dude. You look like you're at Willy Wonka.
Dude, what's happening right now? My camera's literally on fire. Should we just continue like this?
Yeah, bro. No, man. I'm gonna die. My eyes are gonna listen. Guys, I'm gonna put a beautiful photo that I have of Alex right next to me here, and that's what I'm gonna be talking to. It looks like it looks like Rugrats opening, bro. It's like if I took all the drugs in the world. Yo, it's actually kind of spooky.
Yeah, I can see it. It actually looks awful right now. This is like a nightmare thing.
Oh, that's better. Okay, there we go, Alex. You look great here. You look wonderful. This is just Alex in his natural habitat. So tell me what you were saying about MODOK. For those listening, you're not going to tell any difference, but for those watching, hopefully this provides some comedy. Anyway, tell me about MODOK and your thoughts there.
Yeah, I think that MODOK's obviously like a super good card in this archetype. It just wouldn't surprise me if it ended up getting cut, because if you think about what MODOK's doing, like, it's usually used in conjunction with Swarm in order to like clear the hand for Dracula, set up a bunch of swarms, drop all the swarms, and allow Dracula to hit the APOC. But now it's like, okay, if you play Corvus, right, and then you play MODOK, suddenly you have a really big APOC. You also have a really big Scorn, and I wonder how those lines interfere with each other. Like, I'm not going to say that Scorn is an Apocalypse replacement, but sometimes I think there's going to be choices to make where, like, who do I actually want Dracula to discard here? You know what I mean? I think that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what's cool is, like, man, way back when, and this was like, I streamed, so it must have been a while ago, but I remember doing Ravonna with discard, and I was doing this, like, man, who was in there? Because Dracula worked, but I had it where essentially you could Arnim Zola, Dracula, and get double the APOC to get hit twice. And so now with Scorn, that seems kind of interesting and something you can go and work with MODOK. And then also, like, in the past, when we talk about cards that work with MODOK that aren't just your traditional builds, Maybe Super Giant makes the cut. Maybe, you know, a card that you don't care if MODOK gets played at the end of the game. You're able to just build up that much more. I feel like there's going to be plenty of experimentation here, even though it is a vanilla archetype. We're going to have those final slots kind of fight out for each other. Ultimately, I think collector discard is gonna win. It just depends what cards are in the deck.
No, that's absolutely correct. I do think that collector discard is going to be the one. I think about, like, you know, traditional collector discard also ran Helicarrier. I don't think that makes these types of decks, because I think that you want to be able to target discard the Scorn often, more often than not. And like, it's very clear to me that like, I think that Scorn is going to be an amazing card in discard, but I think what's really notable here is that it's not going to be good in Hela. So you're going to see an increase in the viability of non-Hela discard, which I think everyone who enjoys playing Marvel Snap is going to appreciate, because the Hela lack of interactivity, I think, has been a major problem. And then now we're going to get a little bit of that back, because if you don't like seeing Dracula get buffed, then like LDS it. Like, now we have like a much more interactive version of discard that's coming back into the meta. And I think Scorn can help carry it.
And power comes late with this, so like you don't have to do everything right away with the deck, and that's what I love about Dependable discard is, like, if you think about the play lines, getting Morbius out there, right, on turn 3 depends what way you go, but you have anything from Moon Knight to Swordmaster. You know, both of those can work in some degree. Moon Knight going for more of the offensive, depending on the deck you're playing. 4, you get the Dracula down, and then yeah, right there, 5 into MODOK or 5 into whatever other plays that you have. If you think about it, you now have Morbius, Dracula, Apox, and Scorn all firing on big power cylinders, and it's a deck that's not going to need A, tech cards, but B, going to be very hard to stop. You can't stop a Scorn. I don't think you could stop it because of how it plays out and the way that it's going to be played, and so I'm excited to see what happens here. Overall, yes, one-dimensional, guys, but I think we feel confident. This is a token buy if you do like discard, and will it push it over the top? We've all been waiting.
Yeah, and something I want to also mention too is there is definitely a loser in discard here with Scorn, and I think it's Silver Samurai. Silver Samurai has not been seeing lots of play, and as a result, I don't think it's going to see it either with Scorn, because Scorn's obviously going to it's going to power scale out of Silver Samurai's target range, which I think is kind of like you know, potentially a factor there. Well, what I will say as well is, like, I think that what's really interesting about Scorn is, like, a lot of people focus in on the balance of cards and like what, you know, oh, what's this card compared to Nebula, or what's this card compared to whatever other one drop. But what I think I've learned specifically with high Evo Cyclops is that every archetype needs something that bats above its weight. And that's kind of what makes the archetypes unique and powerful, right? And I think that Scorn can be that to some degree with for discard. Like, it's okay to have a one drop that's a little overstated for a very particular archetype, because Scorn isn't going to ruin the meta in the way that, like, if Nebula was overstated, or even if Silver Sable was overstated and you can just throw it anywhere, then that's a problem. But with Scorn, it can never be a zoo card necessarily. It'll never be a bounce card. It has a very defined role. And because of that very defined role, I think it's okay that it scales more aggressively because it serves to benefit one archetype. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. It does for sure. I mean, you tell me, though, you're not going to do Strong Guy, Blade, Scorn, Zoo from the old days?
Oh, okay. That was one of the first OG Pool 1 decks that actually helped climb. Like, that was a non-ironic deck that was good, but at the time it needed the OG Chavez. If without Chavez, that deck doesn't work anymore, no?
Yeah, I mean, that one won't, but I'm curious on how well Scorn will play into Dracula Dump. Dracula Dump has always been one of my favorites. If you guys, you should know what it is. If you don't, essentially it's Dracula, a bunch of one cost, kind of a pseudo-zoo deck, and then you have a couple big players that end up, now, early in the day, it used to be like 0 Red Skull. Now this has changed, but like there could be a concoction of Zoo and Dracula Dump that end up making it with Scorn overall.
It's just funny hearing you say dump over and over again.
It's just funny looking at you flipping off elephants.
This is better than the other one. It looked like you were talking to a memorial of me.
All right, let's go to move this discussion from Scorn to the OTA review. And, you know, we waited a good amount for this OTA, and we definitely got a fair amount of changes. If they're impactful, that's what we're going to break down today. We got to talk about the King returning, Mufasa, back from when Scar dropped him into the wildebeest. He's back out. And I got to say, I think this is a very happy medium of what Zabu could be in this game. He's definitely not a trash card anymore. Turned back into a 1 cost, and now he's going to be giving anything in your deck -1 cost, which I think is a really cool mechanic. I don't know about you, but I love the idea. When he's in your opening hand, you can kind of evaluate how many 4s you have in your deck. Is he worth playing? I think it feels pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, it's an interesting change, right? Like, it's not broken by any means. Like, it's not like old original OG Zabu, which was literally the most broken card ever in Marvel Snap's history, right? But it's definitely better than what it was. It kind of reminds me of that meme. You know that meme when like Simba finds Mufasa and he's like dead at the rock after he's been thrown into the wildebeest by Scar? But the meme has him putting WD-40 in his ear and like trying to, resuscitate him with the WD-40. That's what I feel like this is. It's like they kind of lubed up Zabu into a 1-2 and like, okay, let's see if this doesn't destroy the game, but we know it's not that good. Just like Simba's like spraying his dad with WD-40 trying to resuscitate him. I think that the WD-40 was sprayed on Zabu here to try to bring him back to the meta.
What Canadian Walt Disney meme did I just see? I've never seen this, and it's listen, there's a lot of deaths that I've recovered from in my childhood from media that I've gotten over. I just got over freaking Darth Vader and Anakin. Love him. However,
Bro, spoilers.
I know. Hey, I'm not done with Mufasa. I'm not over Mufasa's death yet. And WD-40, why don't you just spit on his grave? How about that, Alex? All right. He was an icon.
I'm not the one that did it. Simba's the one that tried to resuscitate him with WD-40. It's not my fault. I don't know what medical documentation he was referring to at the time. Maybe WebMD or whatever.
Is it resuscitate or resuscitate?
I don't know, man. I'm just saying words.
Do you say, what do you color with that aren't markers for kids? Like, what do you call those?
Crayons.
Okay, that's good. Crowns. I heard crowns before. I hate that. It's crayons, yeah. But then there's also crayons. Crayons?
No, crayons. I'll tell you though, the yellow crayon tastes the best.
Debatable. I've had my son's blues lately. The blue ones they pack a punch. I think they give me a little bit more kind of a tipsy.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you know the markers, the Mr. Scent markers? Have you ever seen those before? Yeah. The ones that you can smell? They don't taste good.
I thought you were gonna go a different direction with that one. I thought you were gonna go more down the how do you say pecan or pecan pie?
Pecan pie.
Pecan. My wife says pecan. I call it pecan.
Yeah?
What about your uncle? Not your uncle, but your...
Aunt?
Yeah, aunt. Okay, aunt. Not aunt?
No, aunt.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing pretty good, actually. Me and you line up on more than I thought. Yeah. I don't...
See?
There's got to be more out there, though.
There's like a lot of geographic difference between us. Like, I'm North Canada. You're like, dirty South. So it's like... It makes sense. We got a little bit of different vernacular here.
What do you call outside? You throw things away in the...
Garbage?
Garbage. Okay. Trash? You call it trash can? You don't call it a garbage can, do you? Or is the garbage outside? Garbage can's outside, trash can's inside.
No, it's a garbage can.
So like when you're like, hey, throw something away in the trash, you say throw something away in the garbage?
Yeah, go put this in the garbage. My kids love doing that. Give it to the baby, give him a little scrap of something. He'll like run over. He thinks he's doing it. We clap for him. We're like, yeah.
What's trash besides like, like Colossus or whatever? Like what's trash in the house?
Generally speaking, my attitude.
Oh, skin deep. Well, let's go and take it back to the forecast, buddy. Listen, I think we're going to go and rank our top 10s and most impactful, so we won't get too much into it. But obviously, to me, right away, the biggest changes that I felt and the places that I'm playing them is in this Sarah Control kind of deck once again. I mean, having the ability to have that 3-cost Shang, 3-cost Enchantress, I miss it, and it feels so good. You have to pair it with the right cards, right? But, man, it feels like a shell of what it was, which used to be meta dominant, but still very good.
Yeah, and it's notable that, like, because of the way, like, you're going to play it on turn 1 if you have it under most circumstances. It's crazy to think that, like, delaying the draw, like, you kind of want to have it on turn 1, but not draw into your 4s yet. And then, like, you're in a game where you're like, hey, I didn't draw into any of my 4s. This is great. Like, damn it, right? So, obviously, as an ongoing, it's way more powerful. I don't think this is his final form. Like, I actually don't think that Zabu will stand the test of time because it's just... I still don't think it's good enough, though. Like, I don't think it kind of quite meets the expectations of what Zabu was for 4 costs. You know what I mean?
I like him. I think it... I want to see more experimentation. Like, I feel like with Darkhawk, where he's at, and Rocks and Hawk's return, it is, the deck thing is a huge limit, right? So, like, would you rather say in the hand? Would you rather say hand than deck?
No, I don't think so. But, like, in my thoughts, I'm like, okay, do you play something like a Zabu? Then do you play like a Magic or Crystal? Do you try to dig deeper into that deck, or do you just play enough 4 drops so you're like, hey, something's getting discounted. Something's getting discounted. It's gonna be fine. And that's kind of the approach. It definitely is a cap on the ceiling of the card. There's no question about it. Like, it's a way better card as an ongoing.
Yeah, I just like it for the cube thieving, the impactful force. So the Shang-Chi's, the Iron Lads, right? Even to an extent, Symbiote Spider-Man. Good pair with Wiccan as well. I mean, those ones where it feels like that you can play 2 3s at a time. You know, play Darkhawk on 5, play Mystique, and then you have one of those 3s to play off. I think that's pretty impactful. Captain Marvel at 3s, a fantastic card as well. So to me, Zabu isn't what he was, but he definitely is much better. And I'm on the other camp. I think we're going to continue to cook with the card. I'm excited to see where it lands. That's fair. What about the end, quote unquote, of Hela? And they did not hit Hela. They hit Hellcow. So they gave Hellcow a power point and then took away the double discard feature, something that's been a part of Hellcow forever now. Now it only has the 1. I still think it's a good card, and I think this week is going to prove it the most with something like Scorn out there.
I like what they did to Hellcow. I do agree that it needed an extra power. However, what I will say, though, is that, like, I'm kind of sad it's losing its identity here as a card that used to discard 2 random cards. Because I like that. I like the idea of 2 random cards being discarded. It was obviously too strong as an activate, but now is it too weak? It clearly is a massive nerf to Hela, which is warranted considering that Hela was dominating the meta. And when you couple this in with what was going on with Luke Cage prior, like the -3, the Hela effect being changed to a -3. So now you have Hellcow not being as effective. Luke Cage has to be in the deck. Hela's definitely weaker.
It's just weird because, like, I want discard to do its own thing, and I love dependable discard. I love what Scorn's going to do to the deck. I love the Apocalypse decks. I feel like they are more skill-heavy and fun and interesting, but I feel like we've seen this before. There are cards that put a cap on design, in a sense, and Hela kind of does that for discard. You can't get too wild because at the end of the day, people, they're not going to think dependable discard. They're going to go right to Hela, case in point in the Hellcow change. Listen, we got a couple buffs that weren't as big, but they got the power point. We have Hulkling, who I think we can all just say is exactly where in the OTA notes. I think they said, like, yeah, there's some devastating combos with him. That was always the case. I think there was always good combos with him, but ultimately he's still what he is. 12 power is not terrible. I think maybe a draft card at that, like we always mentioned, but not exactly up to scuff. Don't have to talk about him too much, but what about Grandmaster, dude? I'm loving this card now.
Yeah, no, I love it. I've been playing Grandmaster like he's been 2-3 the entire time. At 2-0, it was definitely rough. 2-2, though, I thought he was absolutely playable. And I was playing him even before he got buffed. Like, I was unironically playing lots of Grandmaster, and I like him. I like him a lot. And now as a 2-3, you're losing absolutely no tempo playing him from a 2 cost perspective. You're also reprocking like a good effect. If anything, this makes Misery feel worse because Grandmaster is really good. And there's a lot of on-reveal effects that you like to kind of to proc again, and sometimes the relocation element is valuable as well. I like the card a lot. I think that Grandmaster is a legit 2-cost card now.
He reminds me of like a U.S. agent where like people had such a bad taste in their mouth of the original one, and they just forget like, hey, this is Marvel Snap. Cards change all the time. Grandmaster now is a threat, and he should be played in a lot of decks that you were just trying to do. Like, this is why he is like a highlight around why Misery kind of missed. Like, a 2-3, I just would rather have and combo into the mill deck, into the Rocks, and Hawks kind of style of build. But definitely glad to see him get more love. Okoye going to 2-3, in my opinion, didn't do much for the card at all, especially that entire archetype's just a little weird, if you ask me. White Widow, we kind of have been talking about this, Alex. Anytime that we see one card dominate for too long, it's only a matter of time before secondary takes care of it. White Widow had, I think you did a couple weeks ago, like this or that card, and my answer was White Widow to so much of it because the plug and play ability behind it, doing multiple things at once. This is a much worse card now.
It is. It's way worse than it was before. And I kind of feel for the players that like were free to play and they invested in the White Widow because it's felt like such a staple for so long. But at the same time, something had to happen. It was too prevalent. Like it was like the automatic auto include. Like when you power creep Jeff, like to the point where Jeff is basically not played anymore. When you are the card that's like, hey, I'm going to build a deck. I need a 2-drop. Just put White Widow in. It can never be that high. It can never be that prevalent. So it needs to have some sort of downside. And obviously we're getting that here. This is a huge nerf though. And it makes me wonder if eventually she's a 2-3. I'm not saying that she still doesn't have reason to like do what she does. She works really well with Red Guardian, as alluded to, but she still works well into some locations, right? She's still gonna like mess up like Destiny and stuff, but she's not gonna work well into like the Bar Sinisters and the Thanos chairs, Space Thrones, right? That synergy's gone now.
Yeah, I think definitely location stuff hurt, but also just, yeah, being able to play her on 2 confidently. She's, I guess, a little better on turn 6 if you don't think they're going to play any cards there. Right now, though, as we see the meta, that it's been this way since, I want to say, the summer, is just so many cards in play. And so, like, people are filling out locations quite easily. And listen, being able to destroy this is not ideal. I think people would almost have preferred a, 2-1 Widow with the same old effect. But they've stated this and Viper going to 3-4, they want there to be some sort of a relief mechanic to clog, If an on reveal gets too crazy with power, you can Shadow King it. With clog, you kind of, if you don't have the right deck, you're kind of screwed. And so I guess they're building some of these safety gates, and the first one's White Widow. Do you agree or disagree with the change there?
Well, listen, the design of the game only has 12 slots on the board for each player. And if you allow it to get so clogged up so fast within 6 turns or 7 turns, yeah, you got to do something, right? And clog had never been relevant. Clog is always like something you tried to do. You disrupted with the goblins, and the goblins kind of sat there unless they had Odin. Like, they were never really that problematic. But then as the game has gone on, I think White Widow and Viper were the tipping points of this.
Yeah.
Where like, hey, Viper does its thing now. It's targeted. White Widow is just incredible. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, naturally you brought this archetype through the roof. It has to have some sort of release valve. So I agree. You need to have an out, because or else the game is just not interactive. It's not fun to play. Like if you think that Hell is not interactive, Clog is basically the same damn thing, is it not?
Yeah, exactly. I'm hope it allows them to experiment more with Clog if they do go through this. But yeah, time will tell. We'll have to see where they go with the changes. It died again, guys. It died again. All right, well, we're gonna have memorial picture Alex up for the forecast. Forecast rankings, buddy. All good, man. Don't sweat it. Hey, just another day in the life of doing the Snapchat. We got to have something go crazy. And typically, we always go from my side to his side. We did his side first, so his is all normal that you guys can go check it out.
That's the funny part, too. That's unbelievable.
It's great. No, I love it. But what we're going to do, man, we just talked about Zabu, and it does look like...
This looks like an actual
memorial. He died. Okay, we'll go back to this one. Listen... Zabu bringing back the forecast cards, and so people took a little bit of a break from them, if you will, and they took a hit. Like, noticeably, forecast cards collectively took a hit when Zabu exited. But now we've got a chance to cook some of them back into our decks here. Now, we're going to be doing a separate ranking. Alex has his top 10. I have mine, and what we think the best forecast cards are within Marvel Snap. As always, we like to kick it off with a couple honorable mentions. We both did not include High Evo just because it kind of feels like it's its own thing. It's not exactly a forecast card that we're going to include in our list today. Any other honorable mentions for you? I have a couple that might shock people. I got Wiccan out of the top 10 as well, just barely.
Yeah, so Wiccan just barely makes my top 10. I'll say that,
Okay.
but I can see why you'd leave him off. Honorable mentions for me, I'm going to say Beta Ray Bill. I actually really like that card, and I was very hopeful with the change to Zabu that I could get Beta Ray Bill kind of working top tier, but it didn't quite work out in my initial testing. And another honorable mention, which shatters my heart, is Captain Marvel. And we need to bring it back, man. Captain Marvel doesn't make my top 10, which is heartbreaking for me because I love the card. It's one of my favorite design cards in the game. And if I could just make a request, I think they should program it so that they check like all the conditions and determine how they could fly. So if you Moon Girl this card, I feel like it should take that into account instead of doing like one at a time and losing when you could have won. You know what I mean?
Our lists are way different. I like that. No, I do. I have Captain Marvel definitely on mine. It's a card that I still play with a lot too. So I'm impressed that she's not on yours. But also, that'll make it fun. We're gonna have a much different list here, and that's what's enjoyable. So let's go to kick right to it, man. Let's talk about our top 10, and we'll start at number 10. Who do you have at the 10 slot?
Number 10, I think, is one of the most unappreciated 4-drops. I'm gonna go Super Scroll. I originally was not going to include Super Scroll in this list, but listen, this is such a great meta call card, and I feel like, honestly, like, it does such a great job of, like, just answering the meta in a way that, like, even right now, with the amount of Iron Man and Mystique you're seeing, because like Agent Venom is just absolutely cracked with that. The Super Scroll is a good way of telling your opponent, like, hey, don't play any of your ongoings. You know what I mean? I think it's really good in Conquest too. Another card, that I think that can be used on turn 6 with Zabu. You play Zabu, this gets discounted, and you can play Shongers into Super Scroll, something like that. It's capable of like winning a location on its own. Like if you're picking up an Iron Man and a Mystique just in and of itself, that's exponential value, my friend.
Yeah, listen, Super Scroll, the times that I get to play him and it really works out, it's incredible. He always has that feel of maybe like Rogue in the sense of like, if they don't have any ongoing, he's just like the most burned slot, right? Like, I still think he could even get a power point or two. But yes, dude, in the right matchups, in this Darkhawk era that we're in the Zoo decks, Iron Man in these Agent Venom decks, definitely a solid puller right now. And it's funny because my number 10 is also maybe like statistically, you're going to have Cole Obsidian above it, maybe even Jubilee, who these could have made the list. But I do have Symbiote Spider-Man sneaking in after his buff. I think that Symbiote is doing enough now for the roles that he's supposed to do. I like him here right at the 10 slot. Definitely him, Wiccan, they can both be right there. Wiccan and bounce decks. I just like the versatility a bit of Symbiote. He's right at a 51% statistic on win rate. So, not crazy, but definitely one that I see aging better, and I would have him in my personal top 10.
It's funny because when I do my list, I actually end up doing the cards in a way where like I go just all the way down. I have Symbiote at 14. So like I can totally see why you'd give him the respect, especially post buff. And I think it's still a fun card. It just doesn't it doesn't crack the top 10 for me.
I mean, if I look at the other ones, yeah, I would Omega Red, who's disrespected, but I don't have him on there because I'm just not playing him. Proxima Midnight is great, but also replaceable in those discard decks. So it was tough. Darkhawk good, his stats horrible, 45%. So it's just like it was tough to pull which one where, and so Symbiote's there at number 10 for me. Number 9, go to kick it off. What do you got?
This is where I put Wiccan. I did put Wiccan at number 9. I felt like it was pretty good here. Yeah. A lot of the reasons why I think that like Wiccan, I think it encourages some really interesting deck building, but also when you hit that effect, it's a snap condition. You have a definite advantage in the game. The 4/7 stat line feels fine because it feels like you're often playing it on turn 3 anyways with a lot of the decks you're playing them. I think he's good, honestly. I don't think he's great. And I think that some of the cards above Wiccan are great. And I think that's kind of the difference. But I definitely think he's good.
I mean, he has some really strong competitive decks right now that are punching well above its weight. Bounce Wiccan's insane. I think Zabu really helped Wiccan as just that card to potentially get it out on 3. And there's some crazy, silly things you can do there. He was one of the bigger winners from that. And so I would have him damn close on mine. If not feeling bad, I don't. So I like it. Number 9 for myself here is Atuma. So very limited by design. You can't really, put him in every deck. But man, is he great in that Nimrod deck. Love the pure power. Love being able to destroy cards without even trying. This was a fun one to put on there.
You know what? I kind of wish I had given like more respect to Atuma. He fell a little lower on mine, and that's not because I don't think this card is good. I think that it is very niche, but when it does an excellent job of doing what it does. We've seen it kind of fall off from a play rate a little bit, but there's no question that this card is infinitely better than what it was before. I totally 100% respect it being on your deck list here.
All right, man. What do you got here at number 7?
We're at number 8 now. Number 8, yeah. And 8 is a huge fall from grace for Miss Marvel. I actually wanted to put Miss Marvel higher, but I couldn't find it in me to do it because I feel like I'm the only one playing Miss Marvel, and you might disagree because I know you also play Miss Marvel, but I feel like me and you are the only ones playing Miss Marvel. This card is incredibly well statted. It is very, very strong, but the current meta killed it. And as of recording, we've only had 4 days of Clog at least getting dialed back slightly. And so Miss Marvel felt awful for the last several months where Clog was starting to get a little more dominant. So I do absolutely respect the stat line that Miss Marvel is capable of. It's new text that makes its adjacent locations requiring 2 additional cards. I think it was a major hit to this card. And so for me, Miss Marvel comes in at number 8, but this used to be an absolute stud muffin of a card.
I have her a good amount higher. I'll tell you my reasonings, I guess, once we get up there. Next up for me, I've got, and it was tough to pick between these two because you could kind of go either way. But I'm gonna go with Shuri here. I have Shuri down here, and Shuri's just one of those cards that, like, I get it. I totally get it. The Taskmaster change did hurt. If you play it now, it's still dependable what it does. It is very simple to get done. But we have seen her exit. We have seen her not involved as much as she used to be. That double power, going all in on that vertical lane isn't exactly what it once was. And now, obviously, I have Phoenix Force off here, but her and Phoenix Force go well. And there's some other cards that can go well together. But Shuri has gone down a bit for me. This is about where she lands.
I find that pretty interesting that you have Shuri this low. I do have her a little bit higher, not crazy higher, but I do have Shuri higher. So I'll give her my piece later.
Number 7. Who do you got?
Wongers, baby.
Same here.
Talking about
Let's
Wong.
go.
Oh, it's Wong at 7.
Lined up. Yep, I got Wong at number 7 too, man. This felt perfect for Wong, right? Like the boomer bust card, but does a lot, but doesn't do a lot, you know?
This is like the you're going to retreat card if you don't have Cosmo.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. He carries himself. Like, he in himself is a win condition if they don't have a way to tech against it. Magneto's kind of exited a good amount, you know? But also, think about all the decks this guy's in. He's not exactly the Wong of old. Yeah, I think he's a lot better of a card for many reasons. And sometimes you only need him for that one extra round to get things popping off. I like Wong a lot here.
Yeah, I've been playing Wongers quite a bit, and one thing I will say is that, like, something that's worth noting, if you don't play them very often, you're giving them a shot. If you play Wong and someone snaps, just leave, because, like, there's two things that happen. One, it's Cosmo, but two, it's Alioth. A lot of people kind of think about Cosmo when it comes to Wong, but Alioth is often very punishing against Cosmo because against Wong. It's one of those situations where, like, when they see Wong and they have an answer to it, Wong's often like this, like, win more card. And if they think that, oh, they're really relying on this Wong to finish the board state and they snap into you, that means they have an answer. They're not going to snap in and gamba whether or not your Wong's going to punish them, because Wong has the ability to just completely destroy a board state. So if someone snaps on you, it's one of three things. 1, Magneto, 2, Alioth, 3, Cosmo. So get the hell out.
There you go. All right, buddy. What about number 6?
6 is Gwenpool. And I kind of wrestled with where I wanted to put Gwenpool, but 6 is where she landed for me. Yeah,
definitely. I have a lot more to say about her. I have her higher up. This is where I've got my Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, with Miss Marvel, which I might as well lead into that. Miss Marvel's my 5. So 6 is Captain, Miss is 5. Miss Marvel, loving playing Doctor Doom with her. I've teched out cards, so I have like Killmonger in a clog area to be able to take care of rocks or acid arrows, things like that, and it takes people by surprise. But I just love the way that Miss Marvel has been working into these kind of tech decks that aim for priority, and having her as a bit of a surprise option. Definitely a huge winner. Both these cards from Zabu, both these at 3 feel way better. Play Miss Marvel on 3 with a Shang-Chi, or even better, Captain Marvel that can move to go get that bonus is freaking awesome. And then also getting to close down locations, or just being a little bit more risky, and she kind of covers up some of your mistakes. So I've got Captain Marvel, then Miss Marvel. Those two for me have been in some of my most played decks as the last 30 days.
Yeah, listen, I love Captain Marvel. I've said it many times. She's my favorite card in the game in terms of its design. Like, I just, and you're right with Zabu, it makes a lot more sense at that 3/5 stat line. But from, like, at a 4 cost, man, if you don't have Zabu, like 4/5 is not enough. It's just not enough right now. This card's been power corrupted in my opinion. We had it at 4/6, and it was part of the Silky Smooth packages, which were doing absolute wonders. And so, like, I get why maybe it can't be 4/6, but I think, does it really destroy the game if this is 4/6 again? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, so the 6/5, what is your 5?
My 5 is where I had Shuri. So I went in at 5 with Shuri just because I think that, like, it is an incredible card for, like, just power scaling. You literally get the double power. This has created archetypes in and of itself. It continues to be very good. It continues to be played despite its changes, its nerfed, and how other cards around its shells have been nerfed in the past. I think this is just a fantastic card all around, and I don't know. I love Shuri. I just do.
Number 4.
Number 4 for me, Absorbing Man. I really like Absorbing Man. I've been playing a lot of Absorbing Man. My favorite lines include Rock Slide Absorbing Man. I really like Brood Absorbing Man. I really like Black Widow Absorbing Man. Absorbing Man, I think, while he has a, we'll say, a rough exterior, I think he's cuddly. He's very cuddly, and I appreciate him.
So I actually kind of forgot about Absorb Man on my list, but I also don't know if I would put him. I'd maybe have him squeak at 10. I don't know why I forgot him, but yeah, I would have him probably squeak at 10. For me, it's Boomer Bust in the Brood deck. That is where like he really shines with Patriot and whatnot. You know, I don't know if he's always my favorite play on 4, but he's definitely, he does his job well, does his job solid. And it's one of those cards that, again, kind of going to always be around in a good degree because of getting more and more of these on reveals. For my number 4, this is where I've got, what do I have here? Gwynpool at number 4. Struggle with 4 and 3 for both these next ones, but I have Gwynpool here this high. This is one of my most played cards since she's come out, man. I just love her as an on-curve play. Decks that don't aim to do crazy things, but be consistent and strong in power. There's ways to just manipulate this power with some cards that, you know, really give them major lift off, but on top of that, just she fits into so many different decks. Love the way she plays. Very universal. It's an easy 4 for me.
Yeah, I really do like Gwenpool, but ironically, this is a card I have not played as much as I'd like. Obviously, she makes a lot of the top-performing Surfer decks, and ironically, I find myself cutting her from my personal brews of Surfer. She's often played in Surfer without Sarah. I tend to prefer Sarah Surfer still. Maybe it's just because, like, you know, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and, like, I refuse to kind of get with the times. But, like, I absolutely do like Gwenpool. One thing I will say, and this is a kind of a silly omission here. I did not realize that she was holding a cat on her shoulder. I thought that was her hair for the longest time. I thought she had, like, this really crazy hair that was, like, flinging in the wind, but she's holding a massive tabby cat.
Massive cat. That is funny. If you just, like, this hair would be insanity. But yes, that's awesome,
Yeah,
dude.
I thought it was her hair, man.
That is to your defense. So she goes up 5 spots for Alex. All right, we have top 3 now. We've entered the top 3, and for me, these were obvious. Who do you got at 3?
See, you say that, now I'm so nervous. Every time we do this, right? You're like, oh, these ones are obvious. And I'm like, I've obviously left out something that he picked, and now I'm scared. Remember that when I missed the Thanos, I literally did not include him when he was breaking the meta? Like, that still like, keeps me up at night, man. I'm so worried right now. Okay, I'm going to go first. You're going to make me go first?
Number 3.
No, man. Okay. My number 3 was War Machine.
Okay. Yeah.
Please
Number
tell
3.
me you agree.
So for myself, I have number 3 at Iron Lad, but War Machine is my 2. So we're close. I think War Machine is absolutely still busted, cracked, ridiculous, really good. We've seen it. The way he activates so many cards, the way that he has just such a solid condition. I mean, they don't have to touch him. This is one of my favorite changes to a card in a very long time. Love what they did with War Machine. Stats prove it. Decks prove it. Top of the meta proves it. He's one of the best 4s right now.
You know what? War Machine, its change has been so good. And I think there's going to come a time where War Machine is going to make a lot more sense with Jean Grey and Goose. I think we need like one more inexpensive ongoing card to just make that bounce. Like make that step. And then maybe he'll get disassociated with the Legion Infinite stuff, which is still good, right? That stuff's still cool. And I'm glad it's kind of toned down a little bit because I think people are getting really pissed off with Storm, War Machine, Legion, and Infinite, right? But with Iron Lad, Cozy, this is very fascinating because Iron Lad did not make my top 10.
Whoa. Who's your 2? Iron Lad is a card that I refuse to settle. Nothing's changed. We have, like, he's never gotten a nerf. Nothing's changed with Iron Lad. There's more cards that benefit from him. I mean, dude, this is a card that makes almost all of my cooks, man. I mean, just whether it's Blue Marvel, Doctor Doom, you know, White Widow, Black Widow, those decks, Darkhawk, I mean, Rock Slide, those kind of decks, loved it in there. Who do you have at 2?
See, for me, it's like Iron Lad. I'm just not putting him in decks anymore. Like the last time I played Iron Lad confidently was in my Tribunal stuff. I just haven't been.
I feel like I'm missing a card now, unless you put like Jubilee there. Who'd you put at 2?
Number 2, Phoenix Force, baby.
Yeah, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not. I feel like Phoenix Force is right there with Mr. Negative out of it, but like they do their deck thing really well. They can go crazy. They're awesome. They're fun. But I didn't have it in mind. But yeah, I could understand, man. There are Phoenix Force players that are hate commenting right now that I don't have it on the list.
Buddy, listen, it took me a while. At first, I was very hesitant to learn Phoenix Force because obviously its play patterns are very, very unique. It's like one of those things where it's like when you play Marvel Snap, you either play Phoenix Force or you don't. You know what I mean? There's people that are literally, as you said, typing right now in the comment section that they only play Phoenix Force. It's the only deck they play. all crackles, all inked, all gold. Memorial Alex is back to say hi to Phoenix Force, rising from the ashes. But what I will say is that I really do like Phoenix Force a lot, and I've been committing a lot of time to it. And the beautiful thing about Phoenix Force is that once you start to play it more and more, it's a deck like no other, because like you'll be sitting there on turn 6 and you'll be like, bro, I can win this game like 9 different ways. And it does that. It does that. And I gotta tell you, I'm becoming addicted to Phoenix Force. It's my second favorite archetype right now under Silver Surfer.
Yeah, man, I'm so cracking up. I can't believe your camera died. This is so funny to me. I feel like a sociopath just like looking at this photo. But yes, I like the inclusion there. Number 1, I think we have the same then. Yeah, Shang-Chi, and it was never a doubt.
Who?
Get out of here.
Yeah, it was Shongers for me too at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Shang-Chi, he had like a quick vacation from the meta, you know, when it wasn't exactly the 10 plus cards, but now it just feels like that staple, man. And especially, I would say this was the card that took one of the bigger hits when Zabu left, because having him only for 3 costs and playing something else in another lane was just so great. But that's what I was having done in that priority deck, is I was having the Miss Marvel and him sometimes getting hit together. I mean, if I had Zabu on my opening turn with no 4s in hand, I sometimes would just snap into that because I knew what that could have done as we moved forward. So definitely fun to look at the 4-cost cards. Definitely different list that Alex and I both had together, but that's just Marvel Snap and the way that you play. But you did see kind of the top end align a bit more. Absolute crazy wild episode of the Snapchat with camera issues and more, but we got it all done, guys, and hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. We have a huge episode coming. Is this our 103 right now? Is this 103?
Yeah, I think so. 102 maybe. No, 102 last week.
Okay, so we got 2 more. I think we have 2 more till the big 2-year anniversary. We got a lot of crazy stuff for that, so look out for it. And guys, if you haven't, go and check out Alex's side where we talk about Misery in review, the best and worst cube thieves, and of course the Snapchat mailbag. Have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy snapping.
I'm not wearing pants.
I knew it. That's why the camera broke.